Well, oh, hi there.
Oh, hi there.
How you doing? My name's Derek. Welcome to the Fireside Chat.
And I'm Ben. Welcome to the Fireside Chat.
Yes. So Ben, I've been wanting to ask you, and this was in the first episode of The Siren, you mentioned that the industry needs a strong Dungeons and Dragons, and Clint in the comments actually picked you up on that and said why?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. Thank you for asking that question, Clint.
You're welcome.
I think for me, I think the number one thing is when I am asked what I do, I talk about I'm a tabletop role player, and people say, "What's tabletop role playing?" About 1 out of 10 people, I can just say to, "It's like Dungeons and Dragons," and straight away they say, "Wow, fantastic! I know what Dungeons and Dragons is. I played it when I was young because it was absolutely huge in the 80s, like millions of people playing. So it's an instant way of explaining what I do." The other 9 out of 10 people maybe have never tabletop role playing, but it's such a massive presence in the culture at the moment that I can just say I play a game called Pathfinder, which I absolutely love and totally devoted to. That still doesn't actually draw any big recognition, but I say, well, it's like Dungeons and Dragons, and then I can give a quick little demo. I usually have a tiny little role-playing game with them right on the spot, and they understand. It's like it's kind of a cultural concept that's embedded in our society and in our media, and it's an instant way of understanding.
So it's a shortcut to the conversation about role playing and role playing in general. All right, but I guess we could say that Wizards of the Coast, they brought out the 4th edition and it wasn't evocative of and they marketed it poorly, and there's all these reasons why the 4th edition doesn't have a good reputation and a good history. Do you feel like Wizards of the Coast deserve to get that market back?
Wow, yeah. I mean, they lost me and lots of people who were really devoted to Dungeons and Dragons. Grew up with it, brought many happy experiences. Yeah, they've talked about it themselves. The way they marketed it, the way the rule system was adapted, maybe too far towards computer games, all those sorts of things. And so now I'm a Pathfinder player, and Pathfinder by Paizo is still outselling Dungeons and Dragons in a big way. And will it continue to is a big question. They've got a big devoted community that they listen to really, really well. Has Dungeons and Dragons done its dash? And now we all should be saying, well, oh, I play these role playing games. I play Pathfinder, and oh yes, I know Pathfinder. And apparently, I've heard some of the people talking about that they actually can identify that as a game that people understand, but if there's a simplified way that the media can access tabletop role-playing game, sort of a simple keyword, when it's broken down, it is still Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah. On Big Bang, they play Dungeons and Dragons. On Community, they play Dungeons and Dragons. So,
it's rooted in our cultural history. Even people who don't play Dungeons and Dragons and don't even play any types of games, they've heard about Dungeons and Dragons because that's the devil worshipping game, or all of those controversies from the the 80s and all that sort of stuff.
So I mean, it's got to be more than my answer than just it's an easy way to explain. So we need it to still exist. I think actually what it still will do, and 4th edition did this in a big way, is it did bring new players into tabletop role playing. And I want people to tabletop role play because it's an incredible social experience, connects you in a really full-on creative, intimate way that we don't have much opportunity in life to do. So you all know that about me. And I met a lot of people who started playing 4th edition, and that's all they know. And now it's gone, and they're moving on to a game, 5th edition, which for me seems a lot more like tabletop role playing and more like the old Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's very atmospheric and very evocative of all of those, 1st edition and 2nd edition, and it's pulls on my heartstrings that go all the way back to my youth. So.
Big slabs of fluff in the dungeon, in the monster manual, and then small amounts of stats. So it'll be easy to pick up, and with the huge force of Hasbro and the great sort of cultural sort of recognition and attaché, they will pull in massive audiences. In toy stores, parents will just pick it up. Oh, that's that game, Dungeons and Dragons. I've heard of that. So we'll hopefully get a flood from this strong Dungeons and Dragons into role playing, and then people will be able to move into far better games like Pathfinder or Call of Cthulhu or
Paranoia.
or Paranoia. And so then the gaming industry becomes really, really healthy because of a strong Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay, so all of what we're talking about here is more people playing. We're not talking about people choosing which games to play. We're just talking about more people, and more people playing role-playing games is good.
More people having fun, more money into the industry, more creativity, better games,
and more options. A bigger audience brings more options for other people to create new systems and market them as viable products. So
that's why we need a strong Dungeons and Dragons in industry.
right. There you go, Clint. Thank you very much for your question.
Thank you very much.
We'll go back to warming it.
Yeah. It's lovely and
Thank you.
warm.
Thank you.
It's so beautiful.